Tensions in the Middle East have reached a breaking point as multiple intelligence reports suggest that Iran is preparing for a full-scale attack on Israel, sparking fears of a new regional war that could drag the world into chaos. Satellite imagery and intercepted communications reveal that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps (IRGC) has been mobilizing large numbers of troops and deploying missile systems near Kermanshah, Bushehr, and Khuzestan, while naval units in the Persian Gulf have been placed on high alert. Western intelligence agencies believe Iran's movements are not merely defensive but part of a broader strategy to retaliate against recent Israeli airstrikes that killed several senior Iranian officers in Syria. In Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu convened an emergency meeting of the Security Cabinet late last night as sirens briefly echoed across northern cities during what officials described as a security exercise. Appearing on national television, Netanyahu vowed that Israel would respond with overwhelming force to any Iranian aggression, declaring that his nation was prepared for any scenario on land, sea, or air. Despite his confident tone, sources close to the government describe deep concern over Iran's coordination with Hezbollah in Lebanon and Houthi rebels in Yemen, which could result in a multi-front war testing Israel's defensive capabilities to their limit. Meanwhile, the United States has ordered its Navy's Fifth Fleet in Bahrain to increase readiness levels while dispatching diplomatic teams across the region to prevent escalation. A senior U.S. defense official, speaking anonymously, warned that Iran's behavior suggests preparation for something large, operational, not symbolic. NATO allies held an emergency session to discuss potential consequences, fearing that an Israeli retaliation could ignite a wider conflict. In Tehran, state media broadcasts have shifted to patriotic programming showing missile drills and fiery speeches by military commanders pledging vengeance for Zionist crimes. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei declared that Israel had crossed all red lines and would soon face divine justice, as crowds chanted anti-Israel slogans in massive rallies across the capital. Analysts believe the immediate trigger for the mobilization was Israel's airstrike near Damascus that killed Brigadier General Hossein Rahimi, a senior IRGC commander, prompting Tehran to order all strategic forces to high alert. Israel, in response, has increased aerial patrols and deployed additional units in the Golan Heights, raising fears that even a small miscalculation could ignite a full-blown war. The global economy is already reacting to the tension, with oil prices surging by 12% and gold hitting a two-year high amid fears that Iran might attempt to close the Strait of Hormuz, through which one-fifth of the world's oil supply passes. Shipping companies have been warned to reroute vessels, and insurance rates for tankers in the region have skyrocketed. Behind the scenes, a shadow war is intensifying. Cyberattacks on Israeli government servers have increased sharply, traced back to Iranian-linked hacker groups, while Tehran's own internet systems have suffered mysterious outages likely caused by Israeli or Western cyber units. The United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting where Russia called for restraint and China urged dialogue, but diplomats privately admit that neither Iran nor Israel seems willing to back down. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres appealed for calm, warning that the Middle East could not withstand another devastating war, but his words did little to slow the momentum toward confrontation. Across Israel, citizens are stocking up on essentials as the military conducts nationwide drills and reissues gas masks to civilians. Iron Dome batteries have been deployed across major population centers, and airbases are operating under maximum readiness. Despite the anxiety, many Israelis express a grim determination to stand firm, describing this standoff as unlike any they have faced before. In Iran, nationalist fervor is surging as state television glorifies military parades and urges unity under the banner of defense of the oppressed. Rallies in Tehran's Azadi Square draw massive crowds waving flags and shouting slogans promising revenge for Gaza and Palestine. Experts note that this internal unity benefits Iran's leadership, deflecting public frustration over economic hardship by channeling anger toward Israel. Intelligence leaks suggest that Iran has been coordinating closely with Hezbollah, Syrian forces, and Yemen's Houthi movement to prepare for simultaneous strikes that could overwhelm Israel's air defenses. In parallel, the U.S. has accelerated military cooperation with Israel, moving additional fighter squadrons to Jordan and Saudi Arabia as a deterrent. European governments, already burdened by the war in Ukraine, are quietly bracing for a new crisis that could destabilize energy markets and trigger mass migration across the Mediterranean. As night falls, Radar screens across Israel and Iran are crowded with activity, fighter jets on standby, missile systems armed, and warships patrolling tense waters. Every movement is monitored, every signal analyzed, as both sides brace for what could be the most dangerous confrontation in decades. Diplomats continue their frantic calls, generals finalize strike plans, and millions of civilians pray for peace, fearing that one wrong move could unleash disaster. In Washington, intelligence analysts warn that if Iran launches a large-scale attack and Israel retaliates with full force, the United States might have no choice but to intervene directly, potentially drawing NATO into a wider conflict. Such a scenario, experts caution, could have catastrophic consequences for global stability. The streets of Tel Aviv are quiet but tense. People continue their routines under the shadow of dread. In Tehran, lights burn late into the night at military command centers as orders flow to missile units and drone operators. The sense of inevitability is growing, a grim countdown that the world watches with helpless anticipation. Oil traders, diplomats, soldiers, and ordinary citizens all understand that the balance of peace in the Middle East hangs by a thread. As dawn approaches, rumors swirl that Iran's Supreme National Security Council has approved the Operation Sacred Vow, an offensive plan involving missile salvos and coordinated proxy attacks. Israel, aware of the danger, maintains full surveillance across its borders, determined to strike preemptively if necessary. The world stands frozen between diplomacy and war, between restraint and catastrophe. It is a moment heavy with history, echoes of 1973, reminders of 1991, yet far more volatile. With both Iran and Israel armed with advanced weaponry, cyber capabilities, and unwavering ideological resolve, even a single spark could set the entire region ablaze. Whether through accident, retaliation, or deliberate calculation, one missile could mark the end of deterrence and the beginning of a conflict whose outcome no one can predict. For now, the Middle East holds its breath, the skies heavy with tension, and the world on edge, waiting to see whether words will turn to war, or whether, at the very last moment, reason will prevail.